It's Peter.
Sean, yesterday when Chairman Nunes was here, we heard his comments. Today, behind closed doors, he apologized to the committee for not coming to them before it came to the president. He expressed regret for the way he handled this, going public and going to the president before speaking to the members of his own committee. So I guess my question is, why was it appropriate? Why does the White House believe it was appropriate for Chairman Nunes to come and give this information to the president regarding an investigation about the president's own associates during the campaign?
Well, two things. One is, it wasn't, as has been asked before, to ask me why he did something. He made a decision. He briefed. Hold on. You were getting there. I saw, you've seen it enough of you, Peter. I know where you're going. I know where you were going. But the reality is that he made a decision. He briefed the press first. No one had a problem, by the way, in the press corps of getting briefed before everybody else. He went down, he briefed your colleagues before he briefed anybody else. I don't hear too much crying about that. The reality is, and then he made a statement and said, I'm going to come down to the White House and share this information with the president. As has just been noted, he didn't give us a heads up. He told us, he made an announcement. He said, I'm coming down to the White House, asked for time to share this with the president. And I think part of the reason, to be clear to your question, is specifically to say that there is a big difference between any discussion about what's going on in Russia and why this intelligence was picked up. His comments yesterday were very clear. The intelligence and the information that he picked up had nothing to do with Russia. And I think he felt as though, according to his own words, they had an obligation to make sure the president knew what he had discovered. That's it, plain and simple.
So to be clear, though, just because appearances matter on this, doesn't the White House have a concern that it creates the appearance that there was potentially interference by the president, that he was included in conversations about the investigation before it was completed?
My concern, to be perfectly blunt with you, is that it's always you seem to have an obsession with the process and not the substance. At some point, hold on.
The president's the one who wants the conclusion. He asked for it, so I'm asking,
I understand
why did he
that.
ask for details before it was completed?
Because as Chairman Nunes said, and again, I'm just going to make it clear, because he said that he wanted to make it very clear that the discussion and the revelations that he had did not regard anything to do with Russia, and he wanted the president to understand that. But there seems to be this obsession with the process. You know, how did he get here? When did he go? What was the reaction? At some point, there should be a concern about the substance. That's a very serious revelation that he's made about what happened during the 26th election with respect to our side and some of the things that happened. And at some point, I would implore, urge, beg some of you to use some of your investigative skills to look into what actually did happen. Why did it happen? What was going on back there? Who knew what when? But I think that there should be a similar concern, as opposed to figuring out whether he took a skateboard or a car here, to exactly what happened and why it happened. And the reality is that whether he briefed us first or he briefed the Democratic members, and that's up to him to decide, the substance of what he shared should be troubling to everybody. And that's what I think is the important thing.
So to follow on this thought, I want to ask you, at CPAC, President Trump said people, quote, shouldn't be allowed to use sources unless they use someone's name. He said it does, quote, tremendous disservice. It's following up with the conversation you started with Sarah earlier. So I guess the simple question is, Chairman Nunes came out, he noted sources that he couldn't create and provide publicly. So why, when it's politically advantageous, is that use of sourcing okay, but when it's politically damaging, it's not okay?
No, I think there's a different, he came out and briefed people on what he knew at the time, and said he was literally going to get further briefs and would have further updates. That's a big difference than reporting and making a serious allegation. In fact, he was doing quite the opposite. He was vindicating the president and saying, there is something that you need to know about the substance of the allegations that are being made against you, and why that may or may not be the case, because some of what I've seen...
If he had not been vindicating him, wouldn't it have been just as important for the president to learn?
Sure. And I think maybe he would have, and then you probably wouldn't have any concern with that, would you?
My question is to you.
Margaret.